And that is the time when I started to realize, hey, I don't actually believe any of this stuff. So that was awkward.
Yeah.
Luckily, while my dad was really not capable of discussing these things, I mean, one time while I was talking with my mom, he walks by down the hall and says, "Oh, atheists are just biased against believing in the Bible." And that was that. That was it for our entire conversation about it. My mom has always been an extremely liberal Christian, dabbling in, Eastern beliefs and things, and trying to make all the pieces fit in a giant jigsaw puzzle in her head. So she was easier to talk to because, more flexible. But even with her, it comes down to, ultimately, she says things to me like, "So you're telling me that after I die, I'm not going to be with your grandmother and grandfather?"
Yeah.
It's how is that my responsibility? I didn't make it be that way.
Yeah.
What you're telling me is you want me to lie to you to make you happy.
Yeah.
And I thought my parents raised me better than that.
Yeah. It's even harder. I mean, parents, like I said, my in-laws, my mother, that's one thing. I don't have to live with them. But in a relationship, in a marriage, when you're the one who's changed, it makes things very, very difficult. And, it's gotten to the point where we can't discuss it anymore because we're just on two different sides of the fence.
Yeah.
We actually went took her to the hall, not the hall, but the American Museum of Natural History, and she went through the Hall of Human Origins. And they have, in New York City, and they have all the skulls and, Neanderthalis, Australopithecus, they have all these bones laid out. She went into that hall and she saw what contradicted what she's been taught her whole life. And not one word, not one question, nothing. Said absolutely nothing about it. So it's been difficult. I guess, Jeff, you're not married?
I am married.
Oh, you're married to another atheist?
She was sort of a generic theist for a while yet after I realized that I was an atheist, but that didn't last that long.
Would you consider yourself a strong atheist?
Yeah.
How do you differ from me?
Well, it depends on the God.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. God of the Christian Bible, I'm sure you're strong atheist
right.
against it. Sure. Okay. I would consider myself, and again, I'm kind of new in my whole new belief here in the last year or two, but I would now consider myself a weak agnostic. I would think that nobody knows what happens, and nobody knows what happened 2,000 years ago. Those stories can't be verified. Nobody knows what happens to you after you die, and I'm under the position that there may or may not be a God.
But, agnosticism is that term relates to whether you claim to know or not. Theism and atheism are terms that relate to whether you believe or not. Even if you say you don't know, if you don't believe, you're an atheist.
I don't know. Oh, that's tough. Boy, there's a lot to work with there.
Yeah.
My belief is there may be. There may not.
Okay. Well, sure. So is mine. There are definitions of God that people can spin for me that I look at and go, well, sure, such a thing could exist. But do I believe it? No. So I'm an atheist.
Okay, so if I say such a thing could exist and I don't know if it does or not, then I'd be an agnostic?
You're an agnostic if you say that, it can't be proven either way.
Right.
But there are agnostic theists. There are theists who say, I can't prove this, but I believe it. That's an agnostic theist.
That's me.
Then there are, you do believe there's a God.
You know what? I don't have any evidence. I'm not saying I can prove it. I'm not saying I believe and this is why.
Yeah.
I don't know if you would say this is a form of Pascal's wager, but I'm not trying to hedge my bet, but I'd like to think that we're not just worm food when we go in the ground, and I'd like to think that you don't have proof that we are. So I would think my belief is different than yours. True?
Right. Well, I mean, I'd like to think that I won the Nigerian lottery yesterday. There's a difference between what you would like to believe, what would be pleasant to believe, and
what you actually believe.
What you actually do believe. And there's a difference between that and what's actually true. and
So
hopefully
if
you would try to believe.
If you say you believe there is no God, then that's also, I could also say I'd like to believe that you're not going to win the lottery either. I mean, you have
Right.
just as much.
I don't say that I'd like to believe there's a God because I don't see a need for one.
But you also
I think
don't,
things are fine. But there are people who say, and I've heard many of them who say, I'd like to believe there's a God, but I just don't. So I'm not sure where you are. I'm just trying to tell you that it's not as simple as a straight line from theism through agnosticism to atheism. I don't think that's how it works. The better definition is there's two axes on a grid. One is is whether you believe there is a God or believe there isn't, and one is whether you think there is proof that there's a God, or whether you think there's proof that there isn't. Now I said that wrong.
So as
You know what I'm saying, though? You can be a theistic agnostic or a atheistic agnostic, or you can be a theistic gnostic, who's a person that does say, I believe and I think I have the evidence that can prove it. That's a theistic gnostic. And an atheistic gnostic is one who says, I don't believe, and here's the reason why.
So
I think
consider myself then an agnostic theist because I think there may be one, but I just don't believe anybody knows anything about it.
Yeah, I'm not sure where to go with this. You think there may be one. Do you think there is one or not?
I think there could be one.
But so do I. But I don't believe there is one. Therefore, I'm an atheist.
I
guess we're going to go around in circles on this for a while.
Yeah.
But the problem with
as a strong atheist, you don't hold the position that there can be none.
No, heck no. You
what?
take me to a South Seas island to show me some natives dancing around a totem pole that they say is their god. I can go rap on that thing with my knuckles. Mm-hmm. Right?
Right.
So what my position is depends on the god in question.
Okay.
Now, any god that violates the problem of evil, right?
I'm not talking about a known God.
Then I know that doesn't exist.
Well, hold it, guys. I mean, I think that these abstract philosophical questions about what to call ourselves are interesting in their own right, but I think
probably take up too much show.
They're kind of dancing around the main issue, which is you have a disagreement with your wife and kids, but
I was trying to get away from that.
Tension.
Because this is not Dear Abbey of Atheists.
Yeah.
We'll tell you what our personal experiences are, but we can't tell you how to.
I mean, I don't know because I don't
marriage.
get into. I haven't gotten into relationships where I thought we would really have those strong differences of opinion. I'm not going to say like, oh well, it's hopeless. You should divorce her, or you should try to work things out. Because, I don't know that all marriages should stay together to their last grasping breath. Sometimes people just drift apart and are unhappier together than they are apart. But
it's been my
I don't know that this is your situation, so, I would hate to offer some kind of advice along those lines.
It's been my experience that most people that I know now who believe like I do, we don't believe in any of the religions, came to this knowledge when they're in their mid-30s. They've already married somebody who believes the way they used to. So I was just wondering if you guys had any experience with how people deal with that.
Afraid not.
I was looking for a label because now that I don't believe in Christianity, I'm constantly being asked by family members, well, what are you now?
Yeah, well, okay.
I just tend to think that the label doesn't matter so much as the underlying concept.
But the label seems to matter to his relatives.
Okay.
Right?